Tosche Station to pick up some power converters.
Hello there. Welcome back to Tales from Tosche Station. And on this episode, well, as you guys can tell, I've got a guest. The Qui-Gon Jinn to my Obi-Wan Kenobi, Grayson from MortisFM. Thank you very much for joining me.
I'm happy to be here, man. I am no Qui-Gon Jinn, but that is a very high compliment for me. But no, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be doing this, and as the great, I guess at the time, he wasn't Chancellor yet. No, he was Chancellor. We will watch your career with great interest. But yeah, no, I've been kind of watching and listening to your stuff since you first started on Spotify, and now you've got the YouTube channel, which is what our faces are on right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am very excited to be here, and yeah, I'm excited, man.
Yep. All right. Well, guys, to fill you in a little bit, so what we're going to talk about today is our three favorite Legends characters and how we would bring them into the current canon. Change nothing, just bring those characters in. So, you know how I'll start this thing off. Chewie, punch it. Let's go. All right. Well, Grayson, I'll let you start off.
You want me to start? Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I feel like we're gonna have a lot of crossover here. All right.
I think it's gonna be two, but it's gonna be two, maybe three.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We'll see what happens.
So I had three that I wrote down, and I literally changed one of them an hour ago. Because and I will get to the other kind of person that I think is the honorable mention, but there's kind of a reason why I switched it up. So I think the first one that we have to start off with, that is everybody wants, even if you're not a Legends fan, and that is Mara Jade. I believe that is the very first.
I'll agree there.
I think that is such an easy fit to do. When you think of the kind of pantheon of Legends characters, right? She is undoubtedly one of the first you think of, and a few of the, and I'm not going to go list a whole bunch off because we're probably going to get to a couple of those other, people, but Mara Jade is definitely the one that, like, at least when it comes to, female Jedi, just a badass character, a really rich lore. She has a very long legacy when it comes to her character. And so I love Mara Jade. Now, the way I would bring her into canon, it's I'm gonna be kind of, I've got somewhat of a concrete idea, but I'm kind of want to spitball and get some of your thoughts as well. But
go ahead.
Immediately, what you would have to do is, if she's the Emperor's hand, she has to be one of likely an Inquisitor. She'd have to be one of the top Inquisitors, and one
Given the way that they're doing it,
yeah. And it's like, there's a few other characters that would fit into that, but I think Mara Jade being the personal hand of the Emperor, she's got to be an Inquisitor, and she's got to be a very competent Inquisitor. And so I think the way that you would do that is that you actually make her a pretty new Inquisitor. And I think you kind of detach her a little bit from the actual greater organization. And so around the time of, in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, she has been appointed by the Emperor as his hand, right? And so she's been training and working towards this, and the rebels are on the run. Han Solo was captured by Jabba the Hutt. But then the events of Return of the Jedi quickly creep up, and she is lost and without a purpose. And so you set her out into the galaxy, kind of going on her own path, trying to figure out what she's meant for now.
So,
and go ahead.
So I was going to say, so essentially what she was doing in the Thrawn books, to a degree, like
she's a wanderer, right?
Yeah.
And so I think from there, I don't have like every specific beat down, but I think from there, if we kind of a little bit proceed time, and eventually we kind of get to the point where you're at when you see Luke kind of towards Mando season 2 and Book of Boba Fett, and that's about they haven't specifically said the timeline yet, but we think it's roughly around 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So there's still another
I
25
think so,
years.
yeah, because when Mando season 1 started, I think that was
It's like 3 years
yeah,
after.
yeah. I think I don't know if season 1 starts in 3 years or 5 years. I think season 1 starts at 5 years. I think.
Yeah. It's
So
it's somewhere from like 3 to 7 years because
yeah, something like that.
because I remember John Favreau was always like, "Oh, it's 7 years after the Battle of Yavin," and you're like,
Math.
okay,
How
wait,
does
you're like,
how
okay,
does math?
there's 3 to 4 years, and so anyway, so somewhere in there, eventually, we're approaching Dave Filoni's movie and things like that. This possible, working title is Heir to the Empire, according to rumors, and eventually she comes. Her and Luke Skywalker eventually meet, and we see in Book of Boba Fett and in Mando season 2 that Luke's aspiring Jedi temple isn't really there yet, and we have about 25 years of this time period where we haven't really seen a whole lot of Luke content, and we see that small temple that was built in The Last Jedi is being assembled by these those droids, but there's no younglings running around, there's no any other Jedi, it's just him.
It's him and Grogu at the time.
And
it's just them two.
And now no longer Grogu, now it's just him, right? And Ben, I mean, I think Ben he's a very young kid. He hasn't even started training Ben Solo yet.
Is he even is Ben even alive yet? Is my question.
He is. Yeah, he is so at The Force Awakens he's 27.
Okay. Because
so
I don't think I ever knew how old he was in the sequels. I don't think I knew that. So
he's a good 8 years older than Rey. Rey's 19 in The Force Awakens. He's like 27, I think, 26 or 27. They try to make him kind of younger than what Adam Driver actually is. But so there's this whole unexplored time period of 25 years of Luke trying to build this Jedi Order, and we still don't really know
what happens there. What happens there
exactly. And so I think the way to do that is, when you bring her in, create a point of contention, but eventually Luke is going to start training and reassembling this Jedi Order. But, and then maybe they start to grow feelings for one another, right? They find it we start to get to that. And I don't think in canon that you make them married, but I do think you make them start to have kind of romantic attachment. And then with Thrawn is kind of the key, the catalyst to where we set him up at in The Last Jedi. And I've always said this, that I would have a whole lot better enjoyment with the sequels if they just do some better explaining. And the 2 points
instead of offhanding everything off screen.
Right, exactly. Because you have 30 years of not seeing Luke Skywalker and being like, okay, how did he get to this point? Right. He's old, he's bitter, he's cynical, he's not the Luke Skywalker that we know and love. And it's well, it's not just because he got old. That's not Luke Skywalker. Something had to have happened, right? And I think what has to happen is that, if there's going to be this resurgence of the Jedi Order, let's say Mara, and let's say Ezra,
Kyle.
And say Kyle, right? These other kind of Corran Horn could be another one. These kind of rising adult Jedi, and then something happens where Thrawn basically wipes them all out, right? Or at the very least, these Jedi sacrifice themselves to stop Thrawn, and then Luke is just back to him again. That's what I would like to see to kind of bring Luke to his breaking point. But that's really how I want that to play out. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, you're good. You're good. So what I was to go off of what you were saying, I was actually writing my Mara Jade breakdown episode a couple weeks back, and I got to I'm gonna rewrite it because I didn't do enough. But that's for another episode. But
Sure.
The point that I made to bring her into canon is, and she's in honorable mention for me. Just gonna let you know that. And the way that I would bring her into canon is essentially since Ben is essentially Darth Caedus in a matter of speaking,
Yep.
he gets the Caedus storyline. Like
Mm.
when he leaves, like when him and the Knights are in below the temple and
He
they
kills her.
leave, like the last he makes a point to kill her. Like maybe it's like she's been a tough teacher on him. Maybe she's a little hateful to him. You know, like a Mace Windu type aggression.
I like where you're going with that. My only discrepancy, unless they retcon it, is that I'm trying to also fit in. Have you read the Rise of Kylo Ren comic book?
No, full disclosure, I've not read any of the comic books. I know a little bit of it, but not a lot.
It's if you get the chance, it's like only 4 issues. It's a very quick and easy read, and it basically explains how Kylo Ren became Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And so the way when and they could retcon this again, but I hope they don't, is that when you get to the point right before he destroys the temple, he's already being seduced by Snoke. And Luke is already at this point where he's kind of being offhandish. He's not very involved in this teaching process. Something, they don't ever say it, but something has happened, right? And there's also flashbacks to when Ben is young and he's training these youngling kids, right? And so what I think would be interesting is and this is more of I think a Luke thing, is you've got to get him to the point where he is so on edge, he is so afraid of the order being destroyed again, that that this temptation that to bend to the dark side is why we see him in The Last Jedi. And I personally could believe that if you make Luke lose almost everything. And I think Mara Jade would be pivotal in that, or any of these other Jedi, say Ezra, right? Like, because he's now in the main galaxy and in the sequels. So I think it would be cool to have like if all these Jedi get killed by Thrawn and it's just Luke again, just training all of these younglings by himself. Because in The Rise of Kylo Ren, I'm not kidding, it's literally there's 3 younglings and Ben. That is all he is training. And I was like, you cannot tell me that in 30 years he has only assembled. That's all he gets. And I was like, something happened. Right, there is 25 years of where there are plenty of Force users running around. You know, like I was like that something has to happen for these characters to die. Right, they have to, and I think that is what brings Luke to where he's at. And Mara would be so instrumental in that, and she could be one of like the chief Jedi in his new council. Right, say it's a new council of like 5 people. Right, say I personally would.
Kyle, Ezra, Luke, Ahsoka, and Mara.
Yeah, that's a good 5 right there. And each of those characters have individual, apprentices, right?
Yeah.
And so like
and we can even retcon in that Kyle has 2. He has Rosh and
Jaden
and Jaden. Thank you.
Yeah. But then like Ahsoka would have, Sabine. I really want Ezra to train Jason. That's got to happen.
That has to
happen, right? Like that is one of the top things that I want to see with like kind of Dave Filoni style characters. And so, but then you've got to soul crushingly wipe them all out, Like and that's gonna suck because we're fans of these characters.
And also Grogu, it's like he might be a Mandalorian or he might be a Mandalorian Jedi. Who knows?
He could be involved in that, right?
Yeah.
And so you know what would honestly would not be a bad choice either, because I feel this happening with her character. Jin wouldn't be a bad choice to come bring over to the light side.
If she turns.
If Mara Jade trained Shin Hati as like a Jedi, dude,
that would be awesome.
Those are 2 characters that are very volatile and share a lot of commonality, like both from Legends and canon. And we already see that Shin has a very fragile. She has a very fragile personality, and she's very easily led by Baylan. And whatever happens in Ahsoka, like Baylan, I don't think he's making it out of that, but I think Shin could.
Don't worry. that's gonna come into one of my characters. Don't worry.
Okay,
I'll,
cool.
I'll get to that. Don't worry.
So
But
so I know I kind of went all over the place, but that's kind of
oh
how
no,
I would do
dude,
it.
I like the tangent. I
Yeah.
like it. I like it. So my first one
Okay.
is going to be Joris Sabaoth. Actually,
Really? That is not what I was expecting.
I like him.
Interesting. All right,
Because
expound.
so the reason I've always liked the idea of a dark Jedi. I've always like he's not so much not so much a Sith and not so much a Jedi, just kind of right in the middle. And no, I do not mean a gray Jedi. I
Yeah,
mean
you mean a fallen Jedi?
yeah, I mean a
Yep.
fallen Jedi, and that's what Drew Joris Sabaoth it to me is. And how I would bring him into canon. I think I told you I was going to break your brain on this one. So
Okay.
Sabaoth is Snoke.
Okay. Tell me. Explain.
So okay, because he's on. What's the big MacGuffin that they're doing in the Bad Batch? Cloning.
Omega. Okay, cloning. Yeah.
Okay, cloning, and they're at Mount Tantus.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking to myself that essentially that the clone that they're trying to make right now, it's not Palpatine. It ends up turning into Sabaoth, and then later down the road, like we see him essentially become Snoke in a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
And then once they figure out how to successfully clone Palpatine, or maybe and I'm gonna steal a little bit of Beyond the Dunes Seas Thunder on this one. Maybe Hemlock gets exiled on the Exegol, and that's where they actually make that that's where they actually make that clone.
So I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. The idea that Joris Sabaoth is inevitably becomes Snoke, and what happens is they clone him in the hopes that Palpatine could transfer his essence into that body. Here's what I'm thinking to maybe modify it a little bit is that Joris Sabaoth ends up being way too powerful than they expect, and so Snoke becomes like he becomes his own entity, right? Or Joris or whatever. And so then he starts running the Empire, the First Order, and it's only because of what Kylo killing him is what allows Palpatine to come back, because Palpatine has just been in the shadows for so long.
That would make a lot more sense, other than I'm not going to say it because it makes me mad. I'm not going to say the line. You know what I'm talking about? Not going to say it.
Yeah.
So it would make more sense that like that's the catalyst. Like it's literally him dying is literally becomes a instant power vacuum. And the only person that can, and I don't know if it's there would have to be a lot of plot conveniences that the moment he dies, Palpatine just comes right back. So but yeah, I would think
maybe it's Joris's clone, or Joris as Snoke ends up banishing Hemlock to Exegol, and Hemlock, in his old age is really is still dedicated to the Palpatine to bringing Palpatine back, but they didn't predict how capable Snoke would become, and the fact that he ends up taking over the entire First Order. Because the thing is like, you make a good point, right? Like I think a lot of people, including myself, immediately write off like Snoke theories, because I'm like, well, we already know what Snoke is now. We just know that he's some clone that Palpatine made.
We know.
But the thing is,
we know he's a failed clone.
Right, but he's not Palpatine. He's not a Palpatine clone. We know that because he doesn't sound anything like Palpatine. He doesn't look like Palpatine. He's something else, clearly. So I think you're onto something there, because we still have yet to find out what is Snoke a clone of, And even Bad Batch didn't show what was in that tank. I
think we're gonna see that at the end of the season. But
I think so.
But to tie it into the Mando movie, I think all of what I'm talking about happens in the Mando movie. We see Sabaoth get introduced into the Mando movie, because I really just think that the Mando movie is going to be Heir of the Empire live action. At the way that
you don't think that's going to be the Dave Filoni movie?
Oh wait, yeah. I thought it was sorry, I was getting my movies mixed up.
The movies mixed up.
Yeah, I was thinking. No, I was thinking the Mando and Grogu movie was the Dave Filoni movie.
It's two separate movies, which is wild.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
A
that's
lot of
what.
people think that Mando and Grogu will be like the catalyst to lead us into the Heir to the Empire movie, and then there might be one more movie after that. That
To
might
make
be
it a to make
yeah,
it a trilogy.
to make it sort of a
Yeah.
trilogy, yeah. Which I'd be
So
down with, you know.
yeah, and we
If
also don't know what's going to happen in Ahsoka season 2.
yeah, I for me for Ahsoka, might be a hot take. Like and if they don't do this, this is fine. But personally, I really want Ahsoka to stay. I'm gonna get on a tangent here. All right, but I'm gonna get on my
Go ahead.
soapbox.
Go
What I
ahead.
want for Ahsoka season 2 is they're stuck on Peridia. I don't see any way Ahsoka getting out of there. All right, I think they are now dealing with a higher, a more not a higher threat than Thrawn, but a less physical threat and more of a spiritual threat. Like, I firmly believe that Balin is trying to become the new father. I think that is what he is trying to do. I think the iconography is all there. I think from the cloak to him literally like being in the palm of the father's hand, I think that's
I'm about to
exactly
wreck
what he's.
you. I'm about to
Okay.
wreck you. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. And I think ultimately Balin is going to fail at doing that. I think he is going to become overly ambitious. There's maybe too much darkness in him. And I think Ahsoka, I think ultimately it's going to be Anakin who becomes the new father, right? I think
He is no. Anakin is the new father. I
is he
mean,
though?
the way that we see him in that episode, that's what it. That's
I don't
at
think
least that's
he's
what I'm
there yet.
thinking.
I
Yeah,
think he is primed to be because I don't no one they have never said that that it has to be a physical person. Like Anakin goes into the world between worlds. He is a Force ghost. He is still within the living Force, and that is something integral to Mortis. So I think that is going to happen because that's Anakin's destiny, right?
Yeah, he's literally supposed to bring the balance and be the balance. So
Exactly, and
yeah, I
that's his
gotcha.
legacy, right? So I think that's what's going to happen. Balin's going to fail, and ultimately the reason I don't want Ahsoka. Listen, I will say this till the end of the time. I love Dave Filoni. Ahsoka is basically his OC. Like he loves Ahsoka, right? And I love her too, but like she keeps going and keeps going, and and I don't think she's going to die, and because I think she's going to become the daughter. I think that's what's going to happen. She
I've got
already had the spirit of the daughter in here. Now the question is who becomes the son. That's a whole different thing.
Okay.
But
You know what?
yeah,
Let's go to my next one.
okay,
This one
sure.
plays into it. Starkiller.
Starkiller was on my list as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
But this actually goes back to what you were saying. So this theory goes this theory goes back to Anakin and the
Okay.
Mortis gods. I believe that the Mortis gods cannot die in the normal sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
Their bodies die.
Their spirits.
But their spirits are reincarnated. And here's the thing, and this would explain why Starkiller would in the timeline would be so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
He is the physical reincarnation of the sun.
That is great. I'm a big fan of that.
That's why he's so I mean, he's
the son
ball.
even looks like in Clone Wars looks like Sam Witwer.
Well, Grayson, you know why that is because it's Grayson. I mean, he's playing the voice, so I think
I know him saying he's the voice, but I'm saying
so.
there is some credence to that theory that Starkiller might be the embodiment of like the sun or the dark side,
Yeah, to keep going on that point, this is something that I actually one of our first conversations that you and me ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about Starkiller. I don't know if you remember this conversation, but he Vader goes to Palpatine and says, "Hey, look, I've got this secret apprentice that I've been training.
Mm-hmm.
I can't handle him. Can you try to handle him?" And they both get whipped. And they're like
by Starkiller.
They bet at the same time.
Really?
And Palpatine backs up and says, "Whoa, okay, wait a minute. Let's not do this. I've got a secret planet no one knows about. Throw him in a stasis pod and and let's blast him. So here's
To
the thing.
where? Exegol?
No, to Peridia.
Peridia. Okay.
He like Palpatine because it's Palpatine. He probably does know about Peridia.
Mm.
Let's be honest. So
But yeah.
they blast him to Peridium, and here's the thing: that whatever's drawing Balin, it's not Abeloth, it's Starkiller. Because here's let me say this. So there he's in like a force like a Jedi sarcophagus essentially.
Okay.
He's using the force to reach out to Balin. Balin in season 2, Balin shows up, cracks the sarcophagus open, and he's like, I mean, think of you've seen the Mummy, right? You've seen the Mummy, right? He essentially uses force drain on Balin, takes his life essence. That way, you don't have to recast Balin. Heck, you can even just do like just his back, and we see him get force drained, and then he's on the hunt for Ahsoka because not only is he the physical reincarnation of the son, he's got some of his memories too.
Yeah.
So the last thing he remembers is his sister gave his life for Ahsoka, so he's gonna go hunt her down.
Yeah.
And that's when we get Vader's apprentice, Anakin's apprentice. That's how we get it.
So we are both Starkiller fans. If you can see people right there, that's Sam Witwer's autograph. Love Starkiller. Here's and I'm only asking to gauge your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
With that, are you in the camp that like Starkiller should just stay in the dark side? Because I think for me personally, and the reason I ask this is there's a reason I love his character so much is that he does ultimately
go to the light. Yes.
And I think in a lot of the theories that people throw out, and even the theories that I've thrown out back when Ahsoka was coming out, was that like, oh, Starkiller could be whatever, but they all end with him staying in the dark side. And it's like, I like that, but something feels off about it. And I want to know how you feel.
So my thing is with how we have it now, we essentially have a light side version of Starkiller.
With Ahsoka?
It's literally Ahsoka.
Okay.
I mean, she's when it comes to on par with how powerful he is. I mean, she's got the essence of the daughter in her. She's pretty stinking powerful. So I think
basically splitting Starkiller into two characters, where Ahsoka's the light side and he's the dark side. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, what I like to see. Would I like to see a light side Starkiller? Yes, but I think I think the scales might be tipped a little. I think the scales might be tipped a little bit too much to one side. But
if I was gonna say, before all this happens with your theory, are you in the camp that Starkiller should be an Inquisitor, or that he should just be completely a secret apprentice? Or
let's not touch that. Let's not touch that. I don't.
Why not?
I think it's just better if he's a secret apprentice, because I've always essentially thought of him as like a dark side version of Luke. Like if what Luke would have been if Vader raised him from an infant.
I think that was the concept entirely. I like the idea that he is an Inquisitor, but Vader has been training him as a secret apprentice.
Yeah.
Like he's like,
okay, so we get both.
He's both. Yeah. Because there's that concept art, right? Or that there was that idea he was going to be in Rebels, right? He was going to be an Inquisitor, and then they decided not to go with that route because they figured it would make it too complicated, so they just went with some different Inquisitors instead.
And it would piss off a lot of Star Wars heads because the legend stuff is still there, right? It's not like that's going anywhere, but like I would be happier to get Starkiller in canon than just not at all, we get something at least.
And I think having like an adapted storyline like that, and I mean, dude, him being like the embodiment of the sun would be, or like the sun spirit taking over Starkiller would be wild.
Well, because I just think, I mean, all full disclosure, Anakin Skywalker is my favorite character, and like both sides of him.
Mhm.
And the first what if I made was because I just thought,
Dude, that
what
what
would
if is
happen
good,
if,
by the way.
yeah,
I like
thank
that what
you,
if a lot.
thank you. But my whole thought on that was, what would happen if he didn't turn? What would happen if he raised Luke and Leia? How
Yeah.
powerful would they be by proxy? But
Yeah.
the
Dude, you had
thing that
this whole like new Jedi Order with Cal and
I am very good with it.
yeah, I loved it. Like the interconnectivity of the characters worked very, very
Yeah,
well.
but what was I saying? I'm
Sorry,
drawing.
I derailed you. I just wanted
Oh no,
to
no, no,
shout
you're
you
good,
out
you're good.
there.
But what I was I don't remember what I was saying
I
now.
feel
Dang
so
it.
bad. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. All right, let's go to your next one.
If you think about it, feel free to cut me off. I don't care.
Oh no, I will. I
So
think I know what this next one's going to be. I think we both have the same guy.
can I go ahead and say my honorable mention of what was going to be my third? Because I now
Yeah,
only
go
have
ahead.
one left. Okay.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
originally, and I'm gonna get some heat from this, but I'm going to explain. Originally, my pick for number 3 was Revan. Okay, that was my pick.
I thought
I
Revan
decided.
was canon.
That's where I'm about to say. That
I was about to say he's.
that was about to say like the only thing I would have to explain with Revan is like, oh, how would you put him in canon? Just make the story. Like that's all you have to do because there's nothing that is saying that he doesn't exist in canon or that he can't be in canon. He's thousands of years before the original trilogy.
I'm gonna stop you real quick. Hey Disney, if
Okay.
you're watching, just go ahead and write that check, please, because we're about to give you the pilot.
Let's see, nice. Like me and Cole have talked about this all the time. Like Knights of the Old Republic trilogy or Mandalorian Wars trilogy or whatever, like would go insane. Like you could do like Knights of the Old Republic, the Mandalorian Wars, like, and then like part 2, you know, whatever, like the Jedi Civil War, and then part 3, like,
and to keep it within canon, something I've thought about, and I'm surprised. I wish Dave Filoni had a little bit more grasp on the sequels.
Yeah,
because
don't we all?
What was Filoni's I'm gonna little bit of trivia here. What was Dave Filoni's first show that he made?
Like Star Wars or not?
Just show.
I don't know if this was his first show, but I know it was Avatar: The Last Airbender he worked on.
Yes. Okay. This is what I'm getting at with the whole Revan thing. There's a plot leak I remember my brother and I reading for The Last Jedi, where essentially Rey is the chosen one reincarnated.
Sure.
That's why she was so powerful.
Yeah. That's kind of what I already think already.
And that's what and the reason I was saying if it was Dave Filoni, what was the one thing that the Avatar is? Just a reincarnation. And the reason that the chosen one keeps going dark every single time is because of the amount of power that they've got in them. And I was gonna say Revan could be like it skips like every I mean, I would say 1,000 years, but then we've got like Revan, then Anakin, and then
Rey. It would be weird. Right. I think if you were have to make that more of like if the chosen one was like an Avatar like role, I think the first one would have to be Anakin. Like because that's kind of what we know him as, and so he's kind of the OG, and so, but yeah, like Revan is just one of those things where there's source books that say that like there's legions of Sith troopers that were named after Revan, and then he even was supposed to be in Clone Wars and the Mortis arc, and then they decided not to do that, but his model does exist. Like Revan, he's there. There's nothing saying he can't be. It's so far before. And people, I remember when the High Republic came out, people were like, they're getting rid of the Old Republic. Dude, the High Republic is like 200 years before the Phantom Menace. The Knights of the Old Republic is thousands of years before the Phantom Menace. It ain't going anywhere.
People got to figure out timelines. So.
Yeah, timelines, baby. So with Revan, he was my pick because I do want him, but I mean, there's literally, you just make the story. That's all you got to do. There's nothing there's nothing complex about it. So with that being said, my final pick, We probably have the same one.
Yeah, that Han Solo with a lightsaber is what I like to call him. So
yes, exactly, and that's Grogu Junior. No, I'm kidding. In fact, Grogu was actually already in Legends. No, that is my favorite character in Legends. Unless some days it's Starkiller, that is Kyle Katarn, my goat.
Yep. That's actually, so a little background here, people. That's actually how we started talking. I think our first conversation was talking about the first level after you get the lightsaber.
Dude, Narshada Streets, baby.
Yeah, how you're getting picked up by
the snipers, bro, and the freaking the Grand with the thermal detonators that just like to bombard you. How many thermal detonators do you guys have, bro? Where are you putting all those thermal detonators at? They're just
I hate it.
They're just spamming them. Anyway, go play Jet Outcast. It's amazing. Yes,
it's so good.
So I'm gonna try to make it quick on how to fit Kyle into canon. I think what I said about Mara, about how a new Jedi Order and everything, and then Thrawn wiping them out. Like, yes, as much as I would love Kyle to live well beyond that, we know that's not going to happen. I would be okay with that. I would be okay with him getting a hero's death. But to do before that, this is where it kind of gets tricky. And by the way, if you don't know about Kyle Katarn, go listen to the breakdown that you did.
Yep.
I just realized I have to ask this, and I have no shame. What do I call you? Do I call you by your real name, or do I call you Tashi? I would
say, yeah. Oh, yeah. We didn't discuss that. Yeah,
we didn't discuss this because I go by Grayson. I have no shame. I know your real name. I think
Jacob.
You go Jacob. Do I call you Jacob?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Cool. Go ahead.
Me and Jacob. So we know obviously a big integral part with Kyle's character is that. In Dark Forces 1, his kind of debut was that he stole the plans of the first Death Star.
Yeah,
that's only the first level.
Yeah, we've got a Rogue One size the elephant in the room. Just came through that door. So
So here's the thing: is you got to work around that. So here's where I say you bump Kyle's story further in the timeline a little bit, right? So the whole thing with Kyle is that he stole the plan to the first Death Star, and then that's only the first level in Dark Forces, and then the rest of that it's him is destroying the Dark Trooper program, right, or shutting that down. So we know the Dark Troopers are in canon, and that's something that Gideon did. I like the idea that Kyle starts off at least with the rebellion. I say he works from the Empire all the way until Empire Strikes Back. Or maybe until the first Death Star gets destroyed, right? He sees Alderaan gets destroyed, and he's like, I am not cool with this anymore. Like, I am not Imperial. Because in Legends, Kyle worked for the Empire, and he was a very good Imperial soldier.
Very, very good.
So that's why he has so much intel. Then he becomes a mercenary. So I say, after the destruction of the first Death Star, he becomes a mercenary. And then you get to Return of the Jedi, and him and Jan and the Bothans are the ones responsible for stealing the plans for the second Death Star. And that they are the only two that make it out alive. The rest of the Bothans get wiped out. Kyle is the one who he delivers with maybe him and a few other Bothans and Jan. They are able the ones to deliver the plans. I know it's a little retcon, but it still fits.
I didn't put that. For some reason, I forgot I always forget about the Bothan spies every single time
because we've never seen them. The Bothans exist in Legends. We have never seen a single Bothan.
I mean, if you count Battlefront,
that was that was technically a Legends game. So
really, that's disappointing. Speaking of which,
are you talking about which? Are you talking about the new Battlefront or the 05?
The old one that just got re-released like yesterday.
Did it get re-released already? I didn't think it came out for another week.
Oh, wait, no, yeah. The
14th, right, I think, right?
I thought it was. I couldn't remember. I thought it was this week, but anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that was technically a Legends game.
Well, because if you think about the campaign, right? The clones were actively voluntary in killing the Jedi, whereas so
I don't think I'm ready to listen to that spooky story again.
Dude, the 501st Journal is voiced by Tamora Morrison.
As an adult, I don't think I'm ready.
It's dark. It's a good story, man. They cooked.
Really good.
But so Kyle ends up eventually he turns coat, he steals plans for the second Death Star, and he does participate in the Battle of Endor. And then that is when you kind of get into a gray area, because really where the big part of his journey starts off is Dark Forces 2, where he finds out he's Force sensitive and becomes a Jedi, or
And
starts
then
progressing towards his Jedi.
that his dad got,
Yeah.
murdered.
And
So
yeah, exactly. Like he's going on a path for vengeance. That is a little bit tricky on how to go about that.
he
I
fights
don't have.
Starkiller.
That would be wild. It pitted my two favorite Legends characters in canon against each other, but eventually he does end up finding out he's Force sensitive, and he does meet Luke Skywalker, and after some trial and tribulation, he does end up beginning to train with Luke. And maybe this could tie into the Valley of the Jedi, and that he does find out his dad was a keeper of the Valley of the Jedi, and that's kind of how him and Luke meet, and that would be a very good catalyst for that. And eventually,
maybe that's why he's not.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe that's why we don't see him in the sequels. Maybe he doesn't get killed. Maybe before
he's the keeper of the Valley of the Jedi, and he's stayed there.
Even before Ben starts dealing with Snoke, he's like, look, man, I've almost turned to the dark side a few different times. Let me go to the Valley of the Jedi and just stay there.
Well, what if
no one can get to it?
On the same track, what if Thrawn or the Empire or the Night Sisters or whatever, they find out about the Valley of the Jedi, and it is unprotected, and he finds out that his father had this legacy where he was someone kind of like Lor San Tekka from the sequels, where he was friends with the Jedi, right? He's or someone kind of like Chirrut, right? And that's why Kyle is full-fledged Force sensitive. So eventually he does end up becoming trained, but that risk of the Valley of the Jedi becoming getting captured, and that well of power and information, he does decide inevitably to take the Bearish Vow. Do you know about the Bearish Vow? Bearish Vow is this really cool concept that was introduced into canon, where basically a Jedi will kind of go and become a hermit and will try to reconnect themselves with the Force. The very first Jedi that Vader kills to bleed his lightsaber crystal was a Jedi who was taking the Bearish Vow, which is why he lived through Order 66, by the name of Karak Infala. And he kills Karak Infala, and dude, Karak is like this big dude. But anyway, he's like Jack. He's like white-haired. You know what? He's like Geralt from The Witcher. I'm not kidding. So anyway, Kyle takes the Bearish Vow and becomes the sole defender of the Valley of the Jedi, and he stays there for a long time. That if you don't want to kill him, that's the way you do that.
Yeah, I would say but like you said, I think a hero's death might be the way to go. So
I always try to work around the issue of, with the original trilogy, we're slowly introducing more Jedi that are,
where are they?
Right. And it always bothers me, because I'm like, okay, Kanan is the perfect example where I'm like, Kanan and Ezra specifically, they killed him, and Ezra was literally in another galaxy, couldn't even get there. Perfect. We still don't know where Ahsoka was at, because at the time she gets plopped out of the World Between Worlds was literally moments after. So she just...
Is it ever confirmed when she was plopped? Because I've always taken it as she gets plopped out
after Return of the Jedi.
No. She gets plopped out literally, at that point, 3 years in the past.
3 years in the past.
Well, I meant directly after that episode happens. I'm not.
You're breaking your brain here. So here's the way I always perceived it, and we'll break it down here. I always perceived it as she gets pulled out by Ezra, and Vader is attacking her, right? And the reason I think this confirms she gets plopped right back in at the exact same time is because at the end of Rebels Season 2, when we don't know if Ahsoka is alive or dead, her and Vader are walking out of the temple simultaneously at the same time.
That's what I was talking about, and that's what I meant. And my theory is that she literally can't, she's kind of in, she knows that she can't interact with anybody, because it might break the space-time continuum. I know that's
It's not
going
Back to
into
the
a lot
Future
of
because she didn't really
yeah,
time travel. She just got taken out of time and put right
yeah,
back in at the exact same point. But
but
I like
she
the
can't
idea
interact
that
with anybody because it might break
maybe
something.
I was about to say, or at the very least, what if she finds out that that like she can't interfere? Luke
Yeah,
can only do this by himself, right? Because this is that takes place 5 years before Return of the Jedi, and so like
yeah,
slowly, you know, I wish we would get those stories in between there, but like, and so that does give room for her to be like, okay, like I can't interfere, like I can't turn Vader, like only his children can do that now, and so she goes into hiding. um
yeah.
it's tricky. It's tricky. I would like some explanation with that, because that's the stuff that gets tricky. And people want Cal Kestis to live, right? They're like, oh, I want him, and I'm like, okay, that creates another issue, because I don't want all these Jedi running around when Luke is there, because like
Well, I think
I
he's
want.
gonna. I think
You think
Cal's gonna be on. What's what's that planet that they're on at the end? I can't.
Tanalore?
Tenlor. Thank you. I couldn't. I was blanking on it.
I,
Yeah, I'm thinking he might just camp out there for the next little bit and stew in his anger. So
the thing is like, unless they do want it to pick up after the timeline, which would be wild. Currently, we still have a good
Luke,
13 years that happens till Return of the Jedi,
yeah,
because
yeah,
it takes place 10 years after Return or Revenge of the Sith. And I'm cool with if he wants to sit there for 13 years, but I feel like that's not going to happen. I
yeah. I
feel like
mean,
he's got to be out there.
yeah, like I said, and like you mentioned, what was it, 2 episodes ago when you were
Hmm.
talking to Cole? You
Yeah.
mentioned my theory. I was watching that episode of that. I was like, hey, he,
What
he
theory
talked
was it?
about my theory.
Oh, the
The
Kanan
cow,
versus.
yeah, the Canon
Yes.
versus cow one.
That would go
Um,
crazy, bro.
I would, I don't, I mean, like you said, I think it would have to have a lot of plot conveniences, like a lot of things, a lot of convenient things would have to happen.
Yeah.
But I just think it would make a lot of sense for Kanan having to essentially beat Cal back into the light side.
Hmm.
Like he
Kind of
beats
like
him so
Mara does
bad.
with Kyle and Mistress of the Sith.
Yeah, it's like he can't, like he beats him so bad. Cal's like, you know what? I think I
Well,
need to be a Jedi again.
I've always had the mindset as well. Like Kanan and Cal are very similar
Hmm.
individuals. They were roughly the exact same
They're,
age
I think they
when
are the
orders.
same
I
age.
think they're the same age. I've always had it in my head that Cal and Kanan were friends at the temple when they were younglings. There's nothing
Yeah,
that confirms that, but that's my belief, because I
head
love
canon,
Cal and Kanan.
head canon. Let's
That's my head
go.
canon. Yeah. But I think it would be really cool between season 2 and 3 of Rebels, if that's
That's where the yeah.
because that would make there's a big time jump between season 2 and 3 of Rebels, a good couple years.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that would be very interesting to see like a blossoming Kanan with his adapting to his
Yeah.
blindness and everything. But anyway, back to Kyle Katarn.
Sorry.
I said my integration. Disregarding everything that I said, how would you integrate him into canon?
Well, I said this in my I said, and I mean it's kind of similar, almost the
Okay.
exact same thing, where Kyle's origin actually happens between, like you said, 4 and 5.
Okay.
I don't think I had it written in that he would steal the Death Star plans, but that actually still could happen.
Works.
That would make sense. And that he starts like before he starts leaving. That's when he starts figuring out he's force sensitive. He's having dreams of future battles, and like he even, like, let's say he even sees like the battle, like he sees the battle in Endor, and he sees like the third Death Star blowing up, so he knows it's going to happen. And then
Yeah.
and we actually, like I said, I think it would be nice to see Starkiller go after him as he's gaining force sensitivity. He's
Yeah.
not there yet, so he's gotta outsmart Starkiller
Yeah.
to get away from him, and he doesn't fight him, not at least not yet.
Mm-hmm.
So our pathways are almost the exact same. I would just, yeah, I'm gonna agree with a lot of what you said, because it just makes a lot of sense.
So are we? Do you think that his dad has to be part of the story? I feel like his dad. I like the idea of his dad because his dad never was a Jedi in Legends. His dad was just friends with Jedi, right? And that Jarek killed him.
I think we might be able to omit that. It would just have to be some clever writing because his story mirrors. There's something I realized when I was writing the episode that his story mirrors Luke's story almost to a T.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a farm boy, a force sensitive farm boy.
Instead of joining the rebels, he joins the Empire. But then eventually joins the rebels.
Yeah. So,
what if Morgan Katarn, his dad, was a Will? You know what I'm talking about, like Whill. Like what if he was like Chirrut or Baze or someone like that? You know, someone who was a disciple. Okay, Will. I'm about to get really deep here into the new canon here. How familiar are you with the Galactic Star Cruiser?
The Disney thing?
Yes.
Nah, not a lot. I wanted to go to it, but of course
it's super expensive and it doesn't exist anymore now. So rest in peace. Yeah. I did get to go, thankfully. I did not pay money. Through the grace of two of my friends who worked there, I got to go on for free for 4 hours, and it was the best time of my life. But
I can imagine
there are a faction of people on the Star Cruiser called Sajas. Sajas were a group of people who they weren't necessarily Force users, but they were devoted in studying the ways of the Jedi. And so on the Star Cruiser, there's a lightsaber training area, and these Sajas teach you how to use a lightsaber. It's kind of part of this premiere experience or whatever. And the Sajas are from Jeddah. So I think they're kind of tied to the Wills. And so I think it would be very interesting if Kyle's dad was a Saja from the Star Cruiser, and then eventually he quits being a Saja because he discovers the Valley of the Jedi in his studying and everything.
He's gotta go protect it. Yeah,
and then the question is, who kills Morgan Katarn to set Kyle on the path of vengeance and eventually the light side? But it could be Starkiller, but
I think all roads. I mean, I think it's going to be an Inquisitor because I mean that's who kills him. In Dark Forces.
Did you know that Jarek was actually the apprentice of Jocasta Nu? Did you know that? I didn't find that out until last year.
I should have done a little bit more research on
apparently, and I had to research because I was like, who's this freaking Jarek guy? I hate Jarek, by the way. He's super annoying, and I'm glad I killed him in Dark Forces 2. Anyway, he is the underling. He is the apprentice of Jocasta Nu, and then before Order 66, he goes off into the unknown regions to study ancient Jedi, to discover ancient Jedi artifacts. And when he comes back, Order 66 has already happened, and he gets inducted in as an Inquisitor. I think that could work. Granted, I hate Jarek, so I don't want it to be Jarek. What if it was Balin? What if Balin killed Kyle's dad?
Well, no, because I don't.
Too dark.
No, well, because I don't think. Here's my point. I don't think that works because Balin isn't a Sith. He's a Jedi. Like,
but Jarek wasn't Sith either. Well, Jarek is a dark Jedi because it was the seven dark Jedi, and they all didn't have red lightsabers. He had red, Bach had purple, two of them had orange, one had yellow. Yeah. It was wild.
But my point is, I think, and I don't know if this is confirmed. I don't think it is that Balin and Skull.
You mean Shin?
Yeah, Shin. Sorry. I was thinking about the wolves because
it's okay.
I'm a Norse.
Cool stuff,
mythology.
Bro.
Yeah, it's my thing. But my point is, I think they are. I think they're dark Jedi. It would make
he's clearly a fallen Jedi. You know.
Yeah, it's just they haven't said the word. But we all know what it is.
There's this negative connotation when it comes to the word dark Jedi, where people are like, there's no such thing as a dark Jedi, and it's like, okay, it's a term used by common people in the galaxy when they say, oh, it's a Jedi who's gone bad. Just because a Jedi has gone bad, they immediately like, oh, they're a Sith. No, a Sith is a
No.
very specific religion, right?
Yeah.
Same thing that the way the Knights of the Ren are like this band of marauders who sort of have ways in the Force, but not really. Though it's the reason Kylo Ren becomes the leader of the Knights of Ren is because he kills Ren, their leader, who was the only
Yeah.
Force sensitive being in there. So anyway, Balin is absolutely a dark Jedi because because clearly he still has some reverence for the Jedi Order. He's not a Sith, and neither is Shin. There's something different, and that even from the hue of their lightsabers. So, but I don't think Balin would. Balin's already tied up with the Ahsoka stuff that I don't think.
That and he's got a code. Like that's the one thing I noted. That's the one thing I noticed when I watched Ahsoka. He's not
mustache twirling, you know. He's not evil.
He's just not a Sith.
He's not
like
a Sith.
He's not evil. Like I would put him in the same. Heck, I would even say this might get me in trouble. I would even say Count Dooku's not a Sith. I mean,
some people will make that argument.
He acts more like a dark Jedi. Like he's not.
There's times where he gets there, but not very rarely.
When I think Sith, I'm thinking Sidious or what's the planet eating one from
Nihilus.
I think of Nihilus, Malgus,
evil
Palpatine, like guys that literally
Plagueis.
and who's the one that like is literally using the Force to keep himself alive and his body's been like killed
Scion.
Times? Scion, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Like those are Sith to me, like evil individuals.
Oh, they're evil MFers, bro. Like,
yeah.
So it's Balin. I mean, yeah, in the beginning he kills all those rebel people, but like, listen, I might get flack from this. I don't think Balin is necessarily evil, right? He's just very devoted to his cause, and he wants to seek this higher power. Yeah. What if the Valley of the Jedi was on Peridia? That may be a little too far fetched.
I think it's a little bit too convenient because I think
this is a hot take. Sorry, go ahead.
Wait a minute, I just thought of something.
What's up?
This just hit me. Peridia. Okay, so Peridia is the dark side version of Mortis.
But isn't Mortis already have light and dark side on it?
Yeah, fair. But I'm like, that makes sense.
I think Peridia is Mortis. That's what I think. I think as soon as they go into, I think because the father and the daughter, like, it's just this barren wasteland, or at least I think it transports you to Mortis. Like it's something is like that orange beacon at the end of Ahsoka is very similar to the citadel that you see in Mortis. Mm-hmm. And Cole pointed that out to me.
I need to rewatch that arc. Like I need to rewatch those episodes.
They're important. My girlfriend is watching Clone Wars for the first time, and she's like, "Mortis, I get it now." And I'm like, "It's big stuff, man."
Yeah. When we were getting ready to, so funny thing, my wife hadn't seen Clone Wars when Mando season 2 was coming out, and that's when they said Ahsoka was going to be in there, and I knew who she was. Again, I knew her entire story. I just never watched Clone Wars. And
so you didn't watch Clone Wars till like 2020.
Yeah. Like I go into that in my Origins episode. Like I say, like
that's right. You did mention that.
Like the pandemic happened, and we were just like, let's go, let's watch it. So
time to do it.
And actually, funny enough, our one of our cats is named his name is Tano because my wife's favorite.
That's awesome.
My wife's favorite character is Ahsoka. So
that's so good. I love that.
It was and it was just really fun seeing her story complete to a point, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do for season 2 because it's kind of, I mean, it's an open slate. I mean,
I think we're going to
we
get
might.
more of what people wanted to see, because the thing that Ahsoka season 1 had to struggle with was they had to balance setting up Thrawn's Return to the Galaxy as well as what's going on with Balin. Now we get a full season where
Of
you're
Ahsoka.
dealing with Ahsoka and Sabine and Balin and Shin. And to be honest, most people thought that was the most intriguing part of the whole show, was those characters, right? At the very least, Balin and Shin. I mean, that was the most interesting part to me. So, and I'm in the camp that they definitely should recast Balin. Like, I think it's tragic what happened, but like that character is too good to just let be written off because of the actor's death. And I don't know Ray Stevenson, so I can't say anything, but like I would like to think that Ray Stevenson was very passionate about that character and would want his story to continue even past his passing. So but yeah, with both I like that we're getting kind of the story split up, where now it's like, okay, we can focus on Thrawn and everything in the Mando movie and the Heir to the Empire stuff, and then we can focus on the overarching mythos of the Force and Mortis and what's going on with Balin and Ahsoka. Yeah, I like that it's more split up. I don't like that it's all entangled, you know?
Yeah, I think we're one of three things is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Either A, it's Abeloth. That'd
be wild. I hope
it's either Abeloth, it's either the Son reincarnated the Starkiller. I don't think they're going to do that, because that's literally like, I don't know if anyone else thought about that, because
I like it though.
Yeah, or three, it might just be
Jar Jar Binks.
It's Darth Jar Jar, but I really think that, I mean, something's got to happen. Something's drawing him. So I think if it's like, it might be the Son, and like might just be the actual Son, because he never actually technically died.
I think that's probably the most sound theory, to be honest.
He might, and the Son might like take his do what I'm saying for the Starkiller thing, just take his body essentially and go after Ahsoka. But I don't know what they're gonna do. I just hope it's good.
So out of all the characters we mentioned 4 characters in total. I believe. I think 3 of ours. We mentioned 4. It was Joris, it was Kyle, it was Kyle, Mara, and Starkiller. Did you mention all 3 of yours?
Yes.
What were your 3 again? Remind me, because it was Joris,
Kyle, Starkiller.
Okay, that's right, because I had Kyle, Starkiller, Mara. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, yeah.
And so if we had to pick one, or if you had to pick just one from your list, which one are you taking?
Starkiller, easy.
Starkiller.
I love Kyle to death. I love him to death. But I think for the overarching story of what Filoni's trying to tell, I think Starkiller would fit best because of what I've told you. Because all of this goes back to one person, and that's what I was trying to get to earlier that I forgot. All of this goes back to one person, and it's Anakin.
Yep.
So I think, to make it short, sweet, and simple, father Anakin, daughter Ahsoka, son Starkiller. It would just make would in my head. It just makes more sense.
As long as they can make it fit naturally, I agree with you, bro. I would love it, man.
I think I
don't want it to feel awkward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
to feel like they're just forcing him in there.
I don't want, as well. I'm gonna quote Sam Witwer here, just trying to force the pieces in there.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite
pieces together. When he's talking about the lightsaber.
That's one of my favorite interviews.
He nailed it, bro. He's so right.
I love him. I love him to death. He might be my favorite Star Wars personality.
He's absolutely mine. He is such a nice dude to meet. He's very personable, and he's just. I maybe would go as far as to say like he understands Star Wars the most out of maybe like my top 3 people. Like he gets Star Wars, all sides of it, right? Canon, Legends. He's a very level-headed guy, but Yeah, for me, if I had to pick one, and this is weird because I don't know if you know this, I've actually never read Heir to the Empire trilogy.
Really,
We're planning on doing it on Tales, hopefully, not
it's
Tales from Tosche Station, Tales from the Archives.
I need to.
I have
I need
the
to.
trilogy right. Sorry, I got to bend my finger. Sev is aiming at Thrawn's head right there, but that is
I need,
the paperback box set.
I need to. I listen to books because I can't. I just can't stand to read them. It's just I never have
Yeah,
been a very good reader as far as I can read, but I don't.
it's hard for people, man.
Yeah. But I actually listened to them about a year and a half ago. So I think they're gonna pull from that in the
A good bit.
Heir of the Empire movie.
Well, that was,
I think that's what's gonna happen.
that was the sequels for a lot of people for many years, right? And so, for me, why I say that is because I think my top pick is Mara Jade, and the sole reason is because one, it introduces a really awesome dark turned light character that is just Mara is just awesome. I love her, and I think she's such a iconic character in the Star Wars legacy. And then secondly, my main reason is what her character would do for Luke Skywalker's character going up to the sequels. Like, I'm not kidding. If I had to boil it down to two issues that I have with the sequels, it's one, how Luke got to where he was. That's my one issue. And then not season 2. Issue 2 is the Palpatine stuff, the Palpatine Snoke stuff. We're starting to get that explained. All right, so I can kind of let that settle down. We're getting the teases
Grayson,
with Bad Batch.
that'll be the next time you come on here. Don't worry, we'll get to
I'm
that
down.
next time.
I'm down. But with Mara's character, like, I want her to have a really cool relationship with Luke, and I want that to cause, her loss to bring Luke to the point of the bitter old cynical man, to where he's so afraid of losing, of the Jedi falling once again and it being his fault, that he would even consider killing his own nephew. I could believe that if you bring a man to that point where everybody around him, like the people that he loves and the Jedi, get destroyed, and it's just him and a few younglings left, and Han and Leia are split up, and he's responsible for his nephew, and then he feels this rising darkness. All of those chains of events would convince me to where he is at in The Last Jedi. I would believe that. I think that works, and I think Mara would be so key to that. So that's why she has to be my pick. And I just gotta say, like, Mara was like, other than Leia, was like the very first character that, girls could look up to and be like, oh, this is a really cool Jedi that's a girl. That was unprecedented at the time. Like, it was, and like, Mara is awesome. Like, I played Mysteries of the Sith, which is her spin-off game of Dark Forces 2, some time ago. And Mara rocks in that game, dude. Like, she's awesome. And so, like, you've just got a gold mine right there. And yes, it would suck. Like, I mean, it's gonna suck to see her character get killed. But, like, if it helps me enjoy the sequels more, I'm happy with it, right?
Yeah, because my whole thing is I don't like. I'll be honest with you. I can only watch one of them, and that's the first one. I can watch Force Awakens, but I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it because we'll be here for another 45 minutes. But yeah, I would think I'm going to agree with you. I would think bringing Mara in would kind of like, and I'm going to make a Superman comparison here.
I like Superman.
Bringing in Mara Jade would humanize Luke a little bit more.
Yeah.
The same way that Lois Lane does for Superman. I mean,
that's a great comparison. I love that. That is so good.
Because every time something happens to Lois, she gets killed. You played the Injustice games. You know what happens.
Yeah.
He kind of goes crazy and either nukes the world, or
even you think about Kingdom Come, right? Which is one of my favorite Superman stories. I've always detested the idea of Superman going and killing people, but in Kingdom Come, Lois Lane gets killed by the Joker, and he decides he walks away. He's like, I'm done.
And that's exactly what
Luke does, you know. And I think Luke
it would make sense.
Luke has more temptation to the dark side than say someone like Clark Kent does, but they're
Well,
very
because
comparable in
it's
how hopeful they are, right?
yeah. Well, but I think part of that is because he's literally the son of the chosen one, so he's
Yeah.
got a little bit more of a more of a tug.
He has a
'Cause-
huge weight on his shoulders, dude.
Mhm.
Like he's
Like-
the only Jedi in a galaxy where there's no Jedi left and he has to rebuild it, you know? I get it.
Yeah.
So I think you make a great comparison. And to be honest, Lois Lane is a lot like Mara Jade anyway. She's feisty, she's headstrong, but she's also compassionate and like she's a good character. And I like a lot of people I think don't like George Lucas hates Mara Jade. I get that. Listen, I love George Lucas. Bad take, George. I love Mara Jade.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Like I'm. Some people have like completely turned on George Lucas, and I hate that take as well because I love George, and we wouldn't be talking right now if we didn't have him. But like
Nope.
Mara Jade is an instrumental character to the Star Wars legacy, and so I think giving a character like that to Luke, and then all these other characters, say it's Ezra and whoever. Literally, if it was just Luke, Mara, and Ezra, and then they both get killed, that would bring Luke down a lot, I think.
Yeah.
I think that would bring him up from being the hopeful guy to being like, oh man, is this my destiny? Like it is I can't do this anymore, right? And then like even the sheer thought of he already knew that Ben was turned. He was like, I can't let this happen, man. And of course he doesn't do it. People always like talk about like, oh, he's this monster, right? And that was what Ben saw. But the truth of the matter is he says it was a passing shadow, a fleeting thought. And it's like, it literally means he had the thought for 1 second, and that's when he turned on the lightsaber, and then he immediately was like, what am I doing? Right? And that I think is perfectly fine for Luke Skywalker, as long as you explain it. So bring in Mara and kill her.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's what you're gonna have to do.
That makes sense.
And Ezra too. I want Ezra and Luke to meet so bad.
Yeah, because the thing that I always find interesting with Ezra and I'm saying the Skywalkers, like the twins, they're the exact same age. They were born on the exact same day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think maybe a couple hours apart. I'm not really sure.
Ezra is like an hour or two, or a couple hours older than them. Yeah.
So I've always found that it really interesting, and the fact that he's already met Leia. Like you got to remember he's already met
You're right.
Leia.
That's so weird.
Leia.
Yeah.
But and him meeting Luke, I almost called him Sky Guy. I think
Skywalker.
Yeah. I think him meeting Luke and them they're a little bit more alike than what they were thinking, because they're both from desert planets, for one. I mean, and they're both very very resourceful. Let me say that much. So I think I really think they would get along together, and that's why I kind of paired them up the way I did it in my what if.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think of like if it was just Luke, Mara, and Ezra. Like Ezra trains Jason, and then Luke trains Ben. Then who Mara would possibly train, And it could be one of those random younglings that are in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic. But
they could. Well, this would require a lot of retconning. They could do what they did in Legends and just have another set of twins.
Who would have what? Luke and Mara?
No, have Leia and Han have the twins like they do in
that Ben has a sister.
In Legends. Yeah, Ben's got a sister or a brother, or whatever you want, however you want to do that.
Okay, the idea, and hear me out, the idea that Ben actually has a sibling and that sibling gets killed by Thrawn's, Rise of the Empire and everything. And that's also the reason why Luke has not spoken to Leia or Han, and Han and Leia separate, is because their child dies.
Yeah, it's not because Ben falls, but it's because Jaisa, that's her name in Legend.
Jaina.
Jaina, thank you.
Yeah.
That Jaina, she gets killed.
Yeah.
Thrawn kills
And
Remy.
that contributes to the darkness of Ben falling, right? His
Mhm.
sister is
Bingo,
killed.
bingo,
His
bingo.
parents have abandoned him. His uncle is a hermit. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I just thought of that. Like I didn't.
That's wild, man. I don't
mean,
think
'cause
they would do that, but if they
Mm-mm.
did, I'd
it
be
would
okay with it.
require. It would. I think it would require a little bit too much retconning on Disney's part, or not
Yeah.
retconning, but kind of just like backfilling. And I don't think they want to do that. So
I mean, there's nothing that says that, like, I agree with you, but there also is nothing that says, like, that acknowledges they didn't have another kid, you know?
yeah, because
Um,
we don't know. They could
yeah,
backfill it.
they could just be not saying
they
it,
want
right? They don't
to.
want to talk about the loss of their daughter
Their
that got
daughter.
killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a
I think
good
that would
theory
be.
right there, dude.
I would think that would make sense. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Man, this was fun. I love doing stuff like this. Like,
Well,
and I'll go ahead and say, like, I'm the type of person now where, like, I don't get my hopes up with this stuff because I know there's a fat
no.
chance of this happening, but it's still fun to talk about. This is half the fun of being a Star Wars fan.
Oh no, yeah, I mean, dude, this is why I wanted to get you on the show.
Yeah.
Is because I mean, I think you and me have a lot of the same energy when
Oh,
it comes
yeah,
to Star
man.
Wars, and I just with me being a one man band, it's a little hard. It's a little harder for me to talk an hour just by myself.
Dude,
I mean,
oh, yeah.
all my videos are like 18 to 20 minutes because
It's hard.
it's just breakdowns. Like,
Well, yeah, imagine if you did this by yourself. We wouldn't have had this back and forth and gotten to the point of that where you were like, oh, what if they had another kid that died? Like, that's some good, man. It's good stuff. Well,
I think that was.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're gonna do that. But I love theory crafting. So let's do this again.
I'd love to, and I'd love to get Cole on or get any of our other mutuals on. Listen, I love doing this stuff. So
I mean, like we said, the conversation that started this was the Star Killer roundtable that I would want to do. You, me, Connor, and Cole.
I'd love that.
But with it being hot and heavy in Bad Batch season right now, I know it's really I know it's really hard for all of us to get together and do other videos. So,
hey, man, we'll make it happen, bro.
Yeah. Oh no, I want that, and then I can expand on that Star Killer theory and see what Cole and Connor think about it. So
yeah, I'm down, bro.
All right.
I had a great time, man. Thank you for having me on. I really loved talking.
Anytime, man. Well, this isn't going to be the last time we're going to do this. I want to try to do this on a monthly or bi-monthly basis if we can if we can figure it out. So thanks for coming on, and well, guys, till next time, may the force be with you.
Always.